Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kerner, with you every Sunday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. And obviously, I'm certainly glad you decided to join me this morning. And as always, I do have some great stuff in my kennel. Today we have an NFL-heavy interview portion to our show as we welcome Jordan Leggett, the current New York Jets tight end, as well as Arrelious Benn, the NFL free agent wide receiver. I'll also be covering some sports hot topics, and for you basketball-specific fans, as always, the interesting happenings on the Hardwood. So in sports hot topics this week, we're going to keep it local here on the Arizona sports scene, and specifically into Arizona State Collegiate Athletics, as the Sun Devils football team is gearing up to make their bowl appearance in the coming weeks. Which bowl it will be still has not yet been announced, but sources are saying it most likely will be in the Las Vegas Bowl. That would mean that the team does get a few less practices than some of the other bowl options, but that is the most likely possibility for the 7-5 Arizona State Sun Devils, as our sources are telling us. And it all comes down to this ASU team, the first year under newly hired head coach Herm Edwards. Had slumps, but also made strides in a lot of areas this season. I mean, defensively, under first-year coordinator Danny Gonzalez, whom the Sun Devils poached from San Diego State, and his longtime mentor and their head coach Rocky Long. Danny Gonzalez really revitalized this Sun Devils defense to improve it vastly in a variety of different categories. I mean, they transitioned to a 3-3-5 scheme, and that saw some players get moved around to positions they might not have been very accustomed to before the start of the season, but the growth and evolution of the defense was definitely evident, especially since they were playing so young. They had two true freshman linebackers, Darian Butler, Merlin Robertson, who were key contributors. Merlin Robertson led the team in tackles this season, up to this point at least. And Darian Butler also a key contributor as well, with third in tackles on the team. But I mean, playing some young guys in the backfield as well. Ashari Crosswell, you had Evan Fields, Cam Phillips, all of those guys, Jermaine Lole as well. All these guys are young freshmen who are getting time on the field. And that was something that at the beginning of the season, fans might have thought, oh, well, that might not lead to a lot of success. Well, the team equaled its win or its record from last season at 7-5. And they came back from 19 points down against their arch rival U of A and were able to escape with a victory down at Arizona Stadium in Tucson. So a lot of success this season. I mean, and then again, a lot of missed opportunity. I mean, losing to Oregon, that made them lose their chance at a Pac-12 South title, and thus a Pac-12 championship berth, which obviously is now Utah's, as they are set to face Washington in the Pac-12 championship. But, I mean, overall, for this ASU football team, looking toward the future, the recruiting cycle, I mean, coaches are underway in recruiting, and that aspect leading up to their bowl appearance, already doing in-home visits as that period is underway right now. But the future of this Sun Devils football team is really going to rely on who Antonio Pierce and Herm Edwards and this newly implemented staff can bring in, as well as the continued evolution of the defense, and replenishing weapons on the offense. I mean, losing senior quarterback Manny Wilkins to graduation, losing N'Keal Harry, junior wide receiver who's leaving school early, foregoing his senior season to declare for the NFL draft, which he did this past week. So losing two of your bigger offensive weapons, I mean, they're going to get back Eno Benjamin, the breakout sophomore running back, going into his junior season next year. Look for some big numbers from him again, but going to have to replenish some offensive weapons. But I think the defense is really going to make up for whatever ASU loses on its offensive end, because, I mean, they already had success this season, and under Danny Gonzalez, that growth and evolution is really going to be something that ASU fan base sees as we head into next season. But all right, guys, don't go away. The Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix will be right back after this short break.
If you're losing your hair or notice that it's getting thinner, listen closely. You can do something about it without messy lotions or drugs. Now you can get clinically proven hair growth results at home with the Hair Max Laser. Hair Max delivers nourishing laser light energy to stimulate hair growth right at the roots. It's FDA cleared, recommended by doctors, and best of all, it has an amazing 93% success rate in clinical studies in both men and women, so you can be sure it works. Use it just 3 times a week and experience new hair growth, increased density, and healthier, fuller, more attractive hair in just weeks with a 5-month money-back guarantee. Now, for a limited time, save 15% on your HairMax order at hairmax.com. Type in code RADIO at checkout or call 1-800-9REGROW. That's hairmax.com, code RADIO, or 1-800-9REGROW. Experience real hair growth and save 15% with HairMax.
Hey there, welcome back. Once again, you're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Jordan Leggett, the NFL tight end currently playing for the New York Jets. Jordan was selected in the 5th round of the 2017 NFL Draft, and since his time in the league has created the Pledge It campaign to honor the memory of Taylor Haugen, the 15-year-old high school football player who died in 2008 as a result of a hard hit on the football field. If you remember, on an earlier episode of our show, we interviewed Taylor's dad, Brian Haugen, regarding his son and the family's foundation and efforts since his passing. Jordan's program started last season through the sports fundraising platform called Pledge It, with donors contributing money for every touchdown catch by the Jets this season. So Jordan is here to discuss more on his campaign and get into how life in the NFL is going for him thus far. So with that, hey, Jordan, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much again. So first off, can you go into a little bit more about the Pledge It campaign? I know I gave a brief little description about it, but can you give us a little bit more detail about it?
So basically what we're trying to do with this Pledge It campaign is really just to raise money and awareness for these abdominal injuries that players be taking if it's not in the little leagues in high school and college and even in pros. And that's pretty much, we're just trying to raise money as much as we can and try to get these schools with not as much money in the safer gear so that they'll never have to worry about getting an abdominal injury going down the road.
Right, yeah, definitely a very commendable and worthy cause at the same time. So what kind of prompted you then to go out and create this? Can you kind of give us some history and how you're kind of personally connected to this cause?
So for me, I started up last year, and it was because one of my agents actually, they asked me if I wanted to do any pledge it, try to raise money throughout the season, and if I wanted to put it towards any cause that I wanted. And they shot me a couple, but I was like, well, let me look back home first and see if I have any that I'm closely related to. And
right.
So I started looking back home. I texted one of my good friends, and he texted me the Taylor Haugen Foundation. And I thought it was kind of interesting, so I thought back, and because it happened when I was in high school as well. And me and Taylor played the same position as receiver, and he grew up right down the road. We were pretty much rivals. And we were just sitting there during the game, and we get all these news on the sideline, people on their phones, and they heard about a big hit that happened down the road in Niceville. And us players were thinking, oh, we got a big hit. That's awesome. It can't be that bad, right? And later to find out that he passed away later that night, which brought us all the realization that these hits are pretty serious. And,
right.
So I really just wanted to jump on board because I felt like I was kind of a part of that because I was right there in that same area playing another game right down the road, and I just wanted to help as much as possible, so we started up with this campaign.
Right, yeah, I mean, that personal kind of connection definitely give you kind of that lights a fire in you, I bet, and kind of helped in terms of picking that cause that you wanted to kind of contribute to. So kind of with the end game here, what are you kind of hoping that this campaign inevitably accomplishes?
Just to put, like I said, these younger kids, these less fortunate kids, and just safer gear, and just to teach these kids about, your head is important, so concussions are a main injury as well, but the abdominal, you have so much stuff going on in that middle section of your body that you have to take care of, and that's just we're just trying to bring a light to that topic and let people know that it actually is serious and not just take it for granted.
Right, yeah, and as someone who currently plays in the NFL, what kind of steps do you personally then take? Because in understanding that these risk factors do present themselves while playing the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to prevent, but I mean, as long as you have the right gear, you're still just taking a step in the right direction, protecting yourself even more. But I mean, these safeties and corners at this level are still pretty big guys. So I mean, even if I'm going up for a pass and they do hit me in the ribs, I'm gonna feel it. But as long as I have that gear on me, I feel a little bit less than if I did not. So that's pretty much what I'm doing as well. Just wearing more protective gear just to try to make it through and have a solid NFL career without having any bad injuries like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, of course, that's what we want, and that's the end goal with a career for sure. And now, as someone who's obviously experienced the ups and downs of football, high school level through college, and now inevitably making it to the big leagues, the NFL, as someone who's been a part of that experience, what can you say parents of these younger athletes can do to kind of be better educated about these the risk factors in these situations, and should they be afraid even to let their kids partake in the sport at all?
It's definitely a very physical sport. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to decide if I want to let my kids play it. But it's definitely just part of the game. Injuries do happen. I mean, some mostly not as tragic as the one in Taylor's situation,
right.
But just for parents, they just have to be aware as well as the kids, just to play the game the smart way. I mean, even on defense, I mean, they could prevent half of those big hits by how they go in and how they tackle people. So I think it's all just about educating these kids as well as their parents, and I'm not a big fan of letting kids play football at a super young age because they're developing so fast and they're growing into their body. And so I mean, it all just goes in with that. I mean, flag football, why not do flag football growing up when you're younger, and then once you get to high school, start playing actual tackle? But it's very hard to say because I mean it's hard to avoid. But just like I said, just educating will be probably the route to go with parents.
Right, yeah. I mean, for sure, that education definitely extremely important. And then, I mean, like you're saying as well, the gear, an important factor there too. But personally for you then, Jordan, how did you kind of get your start in football leading up to it becoming obviously more competitive to a point where you're at now playing for the Jets in the NFL?
What was that question one more time?
Yeah, no, so basically just how did you get your start in football leading then to it becoming a competitive part of your life leading up to you being in the NFL playing for the Jets right now?
So my dad was a big fan of football growing up. He used to always watch the Steelers back when they had the thing called the Steel Curtain.
Right.
It was like one of the best defenses in the league. So me and my brother started playing at a very young age. We had no idea. So we were going out there in basketball shorts and shoulder pads because we didn't know anything about practice pants or anything like that. So it started off rough, but once me and my brother got the hang of it, we both were playing linebacker. Then I kind of transitioned over to wide receiver, and then I kind of stuck with that all the way until college. But I mean, it's definitely fun. I mean, kids love to play it. They love to go out there with their friends every day and just, I mean, practice. I mean, it's fun back then, so it was just a lot of fun doing that. And then just going through college, going in the tight end, and just different things like that. But it was a lot of fun growing up, and just making a lot of friends and just playing as competitively as possible. And like I said, going to high school and just realizing junior year that I'm gonna have a chance to play at the next level and get my whole college career paid for.
Right.
And so that was pretty sweet. And then just going through college, I was able to graduate, so I got to check that off my list. And then towards junior year, senior year of college, I realized that I can make a career out of this. So I've just been taking all the right steps and just giving all the glory to God, just moving forward and just taking advantage of every day.
Right, yeah. I mean, definitely that path has led you to the success you're having now, obviously, in the NFL. But now, having a few games under your belt, obviously, this season, what would you say is kind of the biggest difference that you've experienced from the collegiate level to that jump to the pros?
I would say the pros is very different just because, I mean, it's football 24/7, but it's not just a matter of just going to work every day and just punching your ticket and leaving. There's so much more that comes into it, like off the field studying, off the field eating healthy, which is the biggest part probably, and just eating right and preparation just off the field is probably the biggest part of the NFL because they give you so much time. It's a job now, and then in college you still had class and stuff.
Right.
Coaches were trying to teach you as much as possible, so they were really the ones breaking down film and doing stuff like that. But now at this level, it's pretty much all on you. And how long you play in this league is how long you can manage your body for and how long you can be the very best at your position, because guys are coming in under you that are cheaper than what you are. So it's all about what you can offer and how long you can do it for. So it's definitely a very tough business, very, very cutthroat. I feel like I'm meeting new people every day, from players that are coming in and going out. So it's a very stressful, tough business, but I mean, it's football. I get paid to play football, and that's just the joy of it, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Right, yeah, definitely really cool. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for your time. We're running out of time here. So where can our listeners go to get more info, to connect with you, or just to get involved with the campaign and get involved that way too?
You can get all your information from just taylorhagen.org. If not that, just go to my Instagram page, Jordan Leggett 16, and there's a link there for the Pledge It campaign if you want to go and donate money. But just taylorhagen.org is where you can get all your information.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure to go check out the website. Hit him up on social media as well. Jordan, thank you again so much for your time. All right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. We'll be right back after this quick break.
If you're tired of hair falling flat, check out the npbeautiful.com flat iron by celebrity hairstylist David Babai, known for Kate Hudson's beachy waves. This sleek modern iron is curved, allowing for endless styling options like waves, flips, curls, and ringlets. Innovative rose gold vibrating plates heat up to 400 degrees, shuffling the hair back and forth to minimize tugging, slipping, or pulling. And 10% of net proceeds support pediatric cancer and animal welfare causes. Find it at npbeautiful.com.
Hey there and welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Arrelious Benn, the NFL wide receiver and founder of Phone Home Financial Services. Arrelious was drafted in the second round of the 2010 NFL Draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and played 8 professional seasons, also spending time on the Philadelphia Eagles and Jacksonville Jaguars rosters. His Phone Home Financial Services is a financial literacy initiative in Washington, D.C. Phone Home works in D.C. public schools to promote financial literacy among elementary school and high school students. The organization's mission is to empower the next generation with the financial knowledge they need to lead healthy, financially responsible lives. So Arrelious is here to share more info on his football career, as well as more info as well on Phone Home Financial Services. With that, hey Arrelious, welcome to the show. So glad you could be here today.
Oh, man, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time. So first off, before I kind of get into anything else, I typically like to kind of ask my guests how they got their start in their respective sports. So for you personally, what kind of made you get started in football in the first place, and how did that lead then to an NFL career?
You know, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I went to Dunbar Senior High School, and I just think just growing up playing football, I'm the second oldest of 5 boys, and, you know, football has always been in my life ever since a young age. I started playing football when I was 6, and, you know, I didn't know that I had the talent always growing up, but, you know, I ended up having the talent, and I worked on it, and I worked really hard, and I pursued the dream of, you know, playing, you know, on a professional level.
Yeah, once you realized then kind of that this could be a competitive thing, you can make it to the professional level. How did that kind of transition from it being just play football for fun to becoming more competitive like that and thinking, wow, I can actually pursue this as a future career?
Right. Well, I have to say that probably started, you know, probably my freshman year in high school. You know, I had an opportunity to watch Vernon Davis, a player before me, you know, play at that high level and had the opportunity to showcase his talent, you know, across, you know, from East Coast to the West Coast. So, you know, I've always wanted to compete. You know what I mean? I've always had the competitive edge in whatever sport I played. And ever since from high school, my freshman year, knowing that I had this talent and knowing that I could do something with it. And when scholarships offers started coming in, I had my first scholarship offer from Penn State. And that's when I knew, hey, you know, this is something serious here. I'm going to take this more serious than what I was doing, and I just dove all in it.
Right, yeah, and then going through kind of that recruitment process through then college and then getting drafted in that 2010 NFL draft like I mentioned, what was kind of that experience on draft day like for you?
Man, it was man, it's like, you know, you have a dream, man. You dream it all the time, and, you know, you wonder if that dream is really real, and to have that opportunity come true, is just phenomenal, man. It was phenomenal for myself and my family. Knowing all the hard work that I put into it's something that I can't explain. It's a feeling that I had and I'll cherish, and I'll be thankful and appreciative for having that feeling, the rest of my life.
Right, yeah, and then shifting kind of now into your new venture with Phone Home Financial Services, what kind of sparked that idea and kind of made you pursue this financial literacy route?
Well, being an athlete and really having to, really be dedicated in, training, dedicated in all the work that you do and stuff that's on the field, you don't have much time to focus on things off the field, and being as though we're athletes and, I like to say every dog will have his day, and, you can't play this game forever. It's a physical sport. It's a demanding sport. And I've always been a guy who's always looking for the next thing. And I've noticed from talking to my peers in the NFL, a lot of guys don't have that financial literacy savvy, and knowing that so much money that we get up front at a young age and not knowing what to do with it, not knowing how to use it, not knowing how to spend it, that's something that I kind of like wanted to get into, because I've had my trials and errors with things, in my career with financial, mishaps, not knowing what to do with this or spending too much money at certain times and stuff. And, it's a trial and error type of thing. So I've always wanted to get into that, because I know some guys, that don't have the opportunity to recover from certain things and always, get in a bad situation. And that's something I don't like to see with athletes, whether it's football, basketball, any sport it is.
Right, yeah. So kind of that, going off of those kind of problems with athletes, I mean, it's a pretty common theme. How is your organization then kind of addressing this issue, and what are kind of some solutions then to that problem?
Well, I partnered up with Everfire Tech Group in Washington, D.C., and we aim to like empower, the financial literacy. My big thing about it is when somebody talks to me about financial literacy, it's not like a topic that's like it gets your attention. You know what I mean? So I wanted to bring something through tech with kids to empower them to understand, this is financial literacy. It could be a cool thing. It's something that has, all sorts of things that focus on every area of your life, and it's something that, you're going to need for the rest of your life, no matter what. Football or any sport that you have will come and go. So, the things that we're doing there, through Phone Home Financial Literacy Program, we gather following stats from 10 low-impact schools that participate in our program. 68% of students, were Black, 29% were Hispanic, Latino, 3% were other, 1% were Caucasian. These low-impact schools in Washington, D.C. are predominantly attended by minorities whose parents' educations are low at 35% high school graduate, GED,
Wow.
8% college graduate. The lack of knowledge creates a domino effect that's passed down from generation to generation. And I've experienced some of that, in my childhood growing up, not knowing, because that's something that wasn't, talked about in my household. And the organization, we're starting financial literacy early in hopes to get kids accustomed to applying it in their everyday life. Each generation, bridges gaps, and I believe Phone Home will teach and support the next generation to have financial literacy become second nature. By accomplishing this, we teamed up with Everfire, like I mentioned, to bring financial literacy through online digital education in middle school and high school through Washington, D.C. And currently our program is implemented in 10 schools in D.C., which are D.C. public schools. We're working toward adding 3 more in the Philadelphia area.
Well, yeah, that definitely seems like a great initiative for sure. I mean, your organization seems to like it's really tackling an extremely important issue, especially in those communities for sure. So what then do you think is kind of the significance and the possible impact of these kind of financial literacy programs and that gap, that the financial literacy gap that seems to be taking place within these communities?
It's like I said, I mentioned before, it's something that you're not taught. It's something you have to be taught early on. You know what I mean? And I would tell parents, start teaching their kids about financial literacy. It could be with coins, whatever, anything like that. You don't have to have money to start a large sum of money to, hey, I need to be financially savvy. Whatever, money you accumulate, start understanding how to make that money grow. Start understanding where,
Right.
To, put your money, and start understanding that, that money don't grow on trees. That's something my parents used to tell me. Money doesn't grow on trees. And I would just say, man, by bridging that gap, we have to implement it in schools across the world. You know what I mean? If we implement, the basic fundamentals of, debt, credit, and, buying a home and understanding, your credit score is pretty much more important than having liquid cash. You know what I mean? Your credit,
Right.
To buy certain things and to interest rates and stuff like that. If we're teaching kids this at a young age, we all go through financial pitfalls. Pitfalls and stuff. So if we're teaching it early, like we're teaching science, math, technology, and stuff like that, which are great, but financial literacy is something that we have to deal with in our everyday life, decision making.
Right, yeah, definitely have to kind of tackle these issues much earlier on, like you're saying. I definitely agree with that. Well, Arrelious, thank you so much for your time. We're running out of time here. So where can our listeners go to get more info or just connect with you?
Oh, you guys can check out, any of my social media sites. My social media is Arrelious Benn, Arrelious Benn, BENN, or you can link up on the website and look up phonehome.everfi.com.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure to go check out the website, check out his social media. Arrelious, thank you so much again for your time. All right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. Will be right back after this commercial break.
For singers looking for a fun, all-in-one wireless karaoke mic with a built-in mixer speaker and its own light show, Voco Pro's pop-up Oki microphone is for you. It connects to a smartphone or tablet via Bluetooth and accesses YouTube and numerous karaoke apps for hours of entertainment. An onboard MP3 player allows singers to perform recorded MP3 tracks. Its multicolored LED light with on-off switch will automatically dance to the beat of the music, adding visual excitement to any karaoke session. Find it at vocopro.com.
You ready to hoop it up?
This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
All right, guys, as always, at the end of the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, you're on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. We're going to transition on over to the Hardwood, pivot on over to the basketball floor, and we're talking NBA. A lot's gone down since the last time we talked, and, so much controversy. So, it's the NBA. What else do you think you're going to get in this league? First of all, I want to tackle the Markelle Fultz situation in Philadelphia. After getting drafted number 1 overall, had some issues with the shoulder, is still not progressed to the point where the Sixers would have wanted him to. Now it's being reported that he wants out of Philadelphia. Now, whether or not teams are willing to take on the project of kind of rebuilding this number 1 draft pick who's looking more like a bust every day just because he hasn't put on a clean exhibition in an NBA game, whether a team is willing to take on that risk, I'm sure there are. But that whole situation, you look at his free throws, it looks like he's bobbling and shooting two-handed and then just throwing it up there, and it's just not going very well for Markelle Fultz right now. But on the other side of the spectrum in Philadelphia, Jimmy Butler has been a transcendent figure for this Sixers team. Just hit a game winner in the last week, has really put on a show, and has even come out and said, hey, I can see Philadelphia being home. I can see this being a good place for me. So Philadelphia, some turmoil, some good things happening there, but we'll continue to see what kind of impact those two players have in Philadelphia. As for the reigning champs, the Golden State Warriors, 7-7 in November. They had gone 53-6 the last 4 years. Just recently dropped another one to Toronto back on November 29th. And that just was an overtime loss. Kevin Durant had 51 points. He's the third Warriors player this season to have a 50-point game. The Warriors are only the second team in NBA history to have 3 players score 50-plus points in a season. So, pretty remarkable. Steph Curry did it earlier in the year. Klay Thompson also did it. And now Kevin Durant joining that party with 51 against the Raptors. But Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, Danny Green, these guys are really propelling the Raptors into a nice position especially in an Eastern Conference, it's gaining some talent. I mean, Milwaukee's looking good. Sixers, like I said, looking pretty good. And Boston, can't overlook them. So these are teams that are on the rise. Do I think it's going to result in a championship winning team from the East? Probably not. I still think it's the Western Conference's title to lose, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @sportswatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at the Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog. The Sports Watchdog Ace and Kern.